Today, the slides for this presentation, you don't have to take a lot of notes. I will make sure to share them with the MoodlePalooza crew, but here is the URL that will get you to the notes. It's just bit.ly, bit.ly/TOEP, TLT 2017. And my name, I said Robin Sullivan, and I'm the project director of TOEP, also an online learning specialist and instructional designer. I work with the Center for Educational Innovation at the University of Buffalo. And I have two teammates that are helping with the implementation of tools of engagement. Cherie van Putten, she's the assistant director of the project and also an instructional designer from Binghamton. And Chris Price, he is our TOEP and our SUNY CPD liaison. Cherie might try to join us. I really hope she is able to. Unfortunately, Chris can't make it for this session. Just going to talk to you a little bit about the project, how it originated. The project had a diverse set of instructional designers, faculty, some librarians that were on the design team. And we all came from very different backgrounds, some from research institutions, some from community colleges, the whole gamut of the SUNY system. And we had a common goal. Our goal was to help instructors learn about free and low-cost interactive technologies that can be used within teaching and learning. The idea that brought us together was that we didn't want to reinvent the wheel. So many times SUNY has 64 campuses. Many times we are doing 64 different similar things but in different locations. And so the IITG grant, which funded the project, had the idea of bringing campuses together to create systemness, to create some resources and communities and tools that can be used by the larger SUNY community as compared to our individual campuses. Our project goals were to increase instructor comfort level and knowledge about emerging technologies, to be able to expand your pedagogical toolbox. We wanted to increase the research-informed application of instructional technologies and do it in a pedagogically sound way. Some of the principles that underlie TOEP is, one of the main ones is lifelong learning. So because technology changes so rapidly, something that's available in the morning might be gone in the afternoon. We all need to be able to learn and learn how to find our own solutions and learn how to understand what are the tools that will help us meet our needs. So lifelong learning is kind of a very important aspect, and there's an activity that everybody that's a participant participates in to kind of examine and just critically think about their own lifelong learning habits. A problem that we are trying to overcome is today's students are still experiencing teaching using yesterday's teaching methods. And if you think of the Fisher-Price pull-along telephone toy, that was around when I was a kid. It's still in the toy stores now. I don't know if kids would understand what it even is. But today, the little 2-year-olds or even younger are teething on their parents' iPhones and teaching their parents how to use it before they can barely talk. Some of the trends in education, early days we had the 3 R's, reading, writing, and arithmetic. Today it's extremely important for learners to understand and be skilled at the 4 C's of a 21st century learner. Those 4 C's are communication, collaboration, creativity, and critical thinking. Many of you may already be familiar with the Bloom's Taxonomy, and that was originally developed by Bloom in 1956, and you can see on the one side of the screen the original version. And on the other side, you see a revised version. So, after, like 45 years, it was determined that they do need to relook at blooms, and it stayed very similar, except a few differences. And I might want to ask, Kelly, you might be able to help me understand if there's some conversation in the chat or somebody that would like to speak up and answer. Mm-hmm. What differences do people see in those two different triangles?
All right. Hi. We have someone who just walked in the room here, other than just me being here. So.
Okay, so I'll repeat the question. They can sit down and take their coat off. The question is, between the original version of Bloom's and the new version, what differences might you notice?
Action verbs?
Yeah, gerunds are being used now.
Yes.
What was the term that you used, Callie?
Gerund.
A gerund. With the ing form.
Okay, all right. I'm going to have to learn that new word. Thank you. Yes, action verbs. Very good.
I taught English as a second language.
Okay, English is my...
The valuation was at the top before, and now there's something above it.
Create.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And so I guess on that same comment that you just mentioned about evaluation being moved, what's in its place, or what's gone and what's now at the top?
Well, there's now something above evaluating, is the creation of something.
Right.
Before, the synthesis, I believe, was the equivalent of creation. Those two, the top has switched.
Yep. So yeah, those are kind of the main things that are different with the new version. And it just, I guess the previous slide I talked about how today we need to nurture 21st century learners, that creation is really important. So because people have at their disposal tools to create videos, to generate images, to generate knowledge, that is now at the top of the list and determined to be the highest level of learning in the new version of Bloom's. And yes, action verbs is the other thing. So, we're moving as much as we can from a passive mode of teaching and delivery to the active student-centered methods. So thank you. Those were some of the things that I was hoping to bring to your attention.
Hi, Robin. It's Vicki Sloan.
Hi, Vicki. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. Are you the one in person at the session?
I am.
Great. Thanks. So please interrupt anybody as you have comments or questions as I'm going through. It would be great to have a conversation. This slide just talks a little bit about what's the wrong reasons to adopt technologies and what are some of the right reasons. So this is a list that was developed William Ferreter, and so some of the things you don't really want to think about is I want my students to create a Prezi, or I want my students to publish an Animoto. You want to think a little bit more towards, you want to use the technologies to help your students raise awareness. Mm-hmm. Use the technologies to start a conversation. Maybe to help them find answers, to make a difference or to take action. Mm-hmm. So just the two different ways. I often kind of get, sucked into the first, I want to use that new cool tool. Why do I want to use that new cool tool is what I need to step back and ask myself. And actually, what's my objective? That's what I need to ask myself first. What are my learning objectives, the outcomes? And then determine what tools are out there that will help my students or my learners achieve those outcomes.
Robin, that's something that I've been, as the instructional designer here, over time, even prior to this, I would say that I wasn't very clear on myself on what was the difference between an outcome and an objective. And in my head, the outcomes here are on the right, the objectives basically would be on the left with the wrong answer. Because it seems to me that the tools are means to get to an outcome. So I always try in instructional design to make that clear separation between the two words when often, even before I started this job, I confused the two.
Mm-hmm. We're going to have to think about that a little bit deeper to kind of, figure out the first column, if that, because when you design a learning objective, you're also much more in depth, creating a SMART objective. How do you determine what the, how they're going to demonstrate what they've learned. And
it's the how of the what.
yeah, thank you. So I have an activity, and I hope you will all participate. For the most part, I would think that you would be at a computer. If you're not at a computer, hopefully you might have a smartphone or some device that you have access to. If not, if you can, maybe just think about the activity. But it's going to be an explore and share exercise. I'm going to have you, before I even tell you what TOEP is, I would like you to go to the TOEP website, and I have on the screen the URL for TOEP. And the idea that I'd like you to do is to go to the website. I'm going to pull it up on the screen here. And I'm going to have you explore one or more of the discovery activities. And the question that I'd like you to think about is, how might one of the TOEP tools or some of the TOEP tools be useful to you to help your students meet the learning objectives? So I'll read off the URL. It's just suny.edu/TOEP. So that stands for Tools of Engagement Project. So it's hopefully pretty easy to remember this URL, suny.edu/TOEP. So if I'll pull up the website, I'd like you to also go to the site. And the one menu that I'd like you to kind of look at, and I'm just going to give you just a couple minutes. I'd love to give you many minutes, but you can spend many minutes afterwards. If you go to the part that says Discovery Learning Activities, you're going to see a big long list of about almost 20 different categories. And just explore some of them and think to yourselves, is there a tool within this section that you might use to help your students meet their objectives? So for example, if you go into presentations, that'll take you to a page, just gives you a really quick once-over introduction, and then in the first column there's a link to read more. The second page in each section has just a bunch of examples of presentation types of tools. So here we have Google and Prezi, and so how might you use presentation tools to have your students meet their objectives? If you teach communication, how might they use a presentation to share their skills that they're gaining in your communication class? So I'm going to give you just 2 minutes, and Kelly, when this actually goes up as a video, if it's totally dead, you might want to edit out those 2 minutes. But I do want to give an opportunity for people to explore. So hopefully everybody has access to.
Is there someone online who who's not able to do this? And we could choose one that Robin could just choose for us that we could all watch while others are doing it on their own. Personally, I don't have a computer right in front of me. I would be interested in the open educational resources portion.
So you can even kind of, if you don't have a computer in front of you, just think to yourselves, what open educational resources are there out there that would be helpful to learn more about to help your students meet their objectives?
Mm-hmm.
We'll give you 2 minutes.
And just so you know, Robin, Cherie is on.
Great. I'll have, I'm just typing to her that I'm giving her the floor next.
All right.
So there's a lot of information on the site. Just kind of glance through a few of them. Yeah, about 1 minute to go. I don't want to rush you. And in particular, if you want to take a look at the mobile section, I know that was kind of an objective of Delhi when they invited us, is to kind of look at some of these mobile tools. We'll try to talk about them too before we're done. Okay, so I am going to pull you back to the presentation, and if someone would like to maybe chime in, whether you have a microphone, you can unmute yourself, or if you'd like to just enter into the chat box. What did you find? Is there something out there, or that you have an objective that some of these tools might help you achieve? And there is a raise hand option. So if you have the participant list up, you can raise your hand, or actually I would probably encourage you just to speak up.
Yeah,
So,
just, or we can choose somebody. I have no problems choosing someone, Robin.
True. Loretta, you have your mic unmuted. Are you interested to share anything?
Well, I'm still looking around, and I was just thinking that you lost me when I went to gamification, and there's this picture of this slot machine, and now I want to go to Vegas.
Okay, yeah, that is, distraction is one of the deterrents or the obstacles that we do need to kind of overcome when we are using technologies, especially, if somebody uses a YouTube video onto a course website, especially in their learning management system. If you put the link out to YouTube and have the student go view that video there, it's very easy. You're going to lose them to those other distractions.
That is so true.
If you can embed the video into your LMS, that's great. So Loretta, did you find any tools, or have you explored gamification in the past?
Just a little bit. Yeah, I have explored it a little bit in the past. Some of my faculty, like I have this one instructor who's teaching a graduate marketing class, and he was going to use MoodlePalooza for gaming, but then they had to actually participate at the same time, real time, and so that kind of ruined that activity. So I'd like to come up with some more games that faculty could play with their students, or the students could play with each other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the section on gamification, you'll find so many resources in TOEP, and there's been a big community that has helped pull these resources together. The gamification section, for the most part, was authored from some colleagues at UB, and I would highly recommend going through the learning module called The Practical Guide to Meaningful Gamification. And it explains, what gamification is, how it compares to game-based learning, gives you some examples. There's, a couple of the tools down there. The, Kahoot is one of the, tools that can generate excitement within a class. It's kind of like almost like a clicker, but online, and then it's got the countdown and the timers and the game competition. How might you use gamification, and what do you teach?
Are you asking me?
Yes, Loretta.
Well, I was thinking of I'm an instructional designer at Clarkson University, and I was thinking of I would like to have them add this tool to some of the classes, such as marketing or accounting, for example. There are games that, economics, that really I think are useful to students. However, they have to be able to be played, and generally they have to be able to be played asynchronously, and they have to be free.
Yeah, that's...
So I was just looking, I found the module reflection log, and that's for the instructor to think about what they might like to accomplish. But it looks like here it's all younger students, K through 12.
Yeah, sometimes we do try to look at the tools that we share with the idea in mind that most of the faculty and staff that are looking at it are in higher education. But when there's some that are, really exciting resources, we do share them. And then you just have to use a little bit of creativity, that top of the Bloom's triangle, on how they might apply to you and your situation.
Okay.
Anybody else have something that they would like to share, just at least one more example about some of the resources on the site that might help you or your students meet the learning objectives? And
anybody online from Delhi? Anybody online from Delhi who would like to share? If not, we have the one person here in the room who can share too.
Okay, I'll do it.
Great, thanks, Catherine.
Thank you so much.
The only thing I was thinking about I had just participated in another session with Josh D'Ambrosia, and he was talking about sway. What I was considering, I teach an advanced pathophysiology course, and part of the discussion questions that the students are providing, they need to, the first part, they have to present patients for different pathophysiologies, and I thought it would be interesting if they could actually use some tool to do a simulation of the patient, whether it's in the ER or whether it's a doctor's office or urgent care, but I'm not quite certain. So essentially I'd be working backwards. I'd like to do a simulation, but I don't know what tool would be available for that.
Yeah, I'm not that familiar with Sway. I think I've looked at it just a little bit, but you might also want to take a look at the simulation section. And that's kind of one of the newest sections in Tools of Engagement. And I was able to work with some of the faculty in Nassau Community College to help put this together. I am not a simulation expert. I'm not, an expert in VR, AR, augmented reality. It was so exciting to find all the resources here. And there was a video that was shared with me today just about how students can take the smartphone, and in a museum, they look at the mummy that's laying out in front of them, but they look at the mummy through their smartphone camera lens, and they can see what's inside of the mummy. So, that I think certainly would apply to the nursing profession. Look at your patient and where are the liver or the diseased part of the body. And there's just so much, I think, application in relation to the medical field with simulation. And, that might be a section that you might want to explore a little bit more. So we are running out of time, so I thank you all for the suggestions. And I'm going to go back to the presentation here. And hopefully I can get it back to full screen. There we go. So thank you very much. I am now going to turn the mic over to my friend and colleague, Cherie van Putten. I introduced her earlier. She is the Assistant Director on TOEP, and she is going to give just a quick demonstration of the website and talk about some of the new things that are added to the site. So Cherie, go ahead and take it from here.
Okay, are you going to continue to work the slides for me?
Yes, I will.
Okay.
Tell me when to go.
Okay, so to begin with, this is is the Discovery Learning Activities section. And this is where, once you were a member of TOEP, you would go to look at these various tools that we have available. These are the new ones for this particular phase, which is our phase 5. We decided to break our nebulous information about learning into online learning and information about learning. We used to try to cover it all in one thing, but I think online learning has sort of become its own area these days. We've also added e-portfolios, and we've also added, once again, we've split this off from, like, we used to have just one area for learning. We've split this off into a flipped learning as well. And we've already talked a little about gamification. We also have a section on OERs and resource libraries, which I think this is an underused area, especially like when you teach at the graduate level. I think this really helps a lot with research and keeping your research together. And then the simulations as well. And the next slide has all of the different groups on it. So these are all of the things we cover. And we try to keep the material as up to date as possible. Every now and then somebody will tell us that something has gone the way of the dinosaurs, but for the most part, we try to keep the tools current, and we try to keep the information and the articles that are featured on the different activities current as well. This is the pedagogy wheel because we wanted to talk a lot about mobile apps today, and I have a bigger picture of this, and you can click the link to the pad wheel and it will open it up as well. And what this wheel does when it finally gets here is it takes things that you might have as your learning objectives in a class, and it shows you different ways you can use technology to take the place of what you might have used in the past. And I see this is taking a while to open. So I'll pull mine up so I can tell you a little about this. For instance, if you have an action verb where you want them to remember, understand, you might want them to do something like match or summarize, interpret. This will show you when it comes up things that you could do that would help that. Like it's saying that you might want to be able to use Twitter for this, or you could use VoiceThread. And it just gives you different suggestions and different tools that you can use. When it comes to create, you might want to produce something. It tells you might want to use GarageBand or like maybe some kind of audio, iMovie, things like that. So it just tries to show you, it's a good way to take your learning objectives and immediately go to some place where you can see, oh, maybe I could use this app for that. And
we can go back to the wheel.
The wheel is just not coming up today, apparently.
Yeah, did it come up for the attendees? I was able to see it just fine, but I'm on the receiving end here.
Do you want to go back to the slide?
Yeah, just go back to the slide. That had it on there.
Yeah, I mean, you can't, so basically the inner, and let me just get mine up again so I can explain. Oops, pad wheel. Here we are. Like in the inner circle of like the particular slices, it will have like a Bloom's taxonomy type word. And then you'll go to action verbs and then activities that you might do. And like the way you did it in the past might be very different than the way you can do it now with a mobile app. So it's just a really good way to look at the apps that are available and how they fit in with learning objectives. So like you start at the closest ring to the circle and you work your way out until you're looking at the different things.
It seems like Loretta may have posted in the chat a link to a PDF version of this wheel.
Oh, great.
Okay, great. Yeah, so that link, thank you, Loretta. That link is found in the mobile apps section of the Tools of Engagement site. So if you're on the site, you can also go in it from that way. So yeah, this is a great tool and I would recommend checking it out. Those little icons are actually linked to the tools. And this is the version 4.0 of the pedagogy wheel, so they're continually updating it and trying to keep it current with the tools just come out so rapidly. I think one of the objectives of TOEP is that we've tried to take the billions of tools that are out there and available and try to minimize them to just some of the really powerful, popular, the ones that might help you achieve your goals. So, thanks, Cherie.
And if we go to the next slide, is that you?
You can take this one too.
Okay, so basically, tools of engagement can be used in two ways. You can use it as a standalone, where maybe you're from a college or one of the universities that is not a member, or you just don't want to, you don't have the time to go through the rigor of the community and all of that. So you can use it as a standalone, and just if you needed to find information out about gamification or simulations, you could just come, read what we wrote, check out the resources we used, and then we also always have a link to some, what I want to say, like articles and things from some researched type articles. Or you could also register and participate in our community and earn badges. So anytime you complete a particular discovery activity, you show us some proof of what you did, and you're awarded a badge. And then there's also a Google Plus community that you are able to communicate in. And I think it's a great place to network and to find professors or staff who have similar interests to you and similar styles, and to just be able to learn from one another and to just share. And there's a good synergy involved when you come together with like-minded and even not so like-minded people.
Thanks, Cherie.
Mm-hmm.
So the one, the piece I'm going to talk about, Cherie kind of gave a little bit of an idea about the ability to register and earn badges. The ability to earn badges, and then also you can earn professional development incentives. Currently for this year, it is open to member campuses. And unfortunately, I think we had conversations with Delhi, and we were like really, really darn close to get your campus on as a participating campus. But unfortunately, we couldn't solidify that for this year. I hope next year we'll be able to do that. So the professional development incentives and the badges and the community, those are available for the campuses that did become a member campus. And I'll talk a little bit about how Delhi can become a member campus. But you are certainly free. The website itself is publicly available. Use those resources as much as you possibly can. Everything is Creative Commons licensed, so feel free to use any of it in your class for your students' benefit. If you use any substantial amount, copying and pasting, then it would be great to give attribution. But the idea is that if you're a member campus, you would register, become a part of the community of peers. We have about 500 or more faculty and staff from across SUNY. We're also expanding to private campuses. You can earn badges, and if you complete those 5 little activities, a lifelong learning homework activity, takes you about a half hour to an hour or so, 3 activities of your choice. At the end of each section, there's a little explore activity, and then do a reflective post. At the end of the academic year, we will have a peer review voting contest, and then we will be able to select a few people who have exhibited innovative ideas about how to use the technology tools, and they will earn CPD conference funding or workshop funding. So the basics, if you kind of put the nutshell together, what's the process? You explore a tool, you complete an activity, and then you earn a digital badge. This slide just shows you a little bit about what the Google Plus community looks like. We have a faculty member from Fredonia who talked about how she used Google Docs in her classes, and she shared that, some of the comments that came back. And
presentation here this morning.
Oh, Katrina, great. She's one of our award winners. She was also a fellow. She's an Uber fellow. She's fabulous. She's going to be doing a presentation with me on TOEP in a few weeks back at UB, which is where she did her doctoral work. So she was originally at Fredonia, worked with Kathy Gradle, who's also one of your presenters, another phenomenal person, and a PI on tools of engagement. Yeah, I can't say too much about these people. They're just fabulous. And then, so the community is meant to share resources that are created. Chris shared some tutorials that he created on using video notes. So this next slide, I'm getting close. I think we got about a little bit more than 5 minutes left.
Yeah, I think so. We have about 8 minutes.
Okay, thank you. So this slide right here has the most often used words in the TOEP community. So for the past 4 years, we've taken the text from the community, copied it, pasted it into a word cloud software, and the past 4 years, the top 2 words that are most often used is students and learning. And this, makes me feel really good that the tools of engagement is not about, Microsoft, EndNote, Google, those types of discussion processes. We're talking about students and learning. Here's the current list of campuses. We have 22 campuses that are involved. Michelle, who I'm sure many of you are probably missing, she has moved on to Oneonta, so I've got her now as a TOEP campus, so that's wonderful. Any institution, private, public, SUNY, this country, that country, wherever, is welcome to join TOEP. We will be having the call for Phase 6 out anytime now, and so I would encourage you all to talk to the people at your campus that would help make this decision. A CPD member campus would come as a institutional member for the entire year. It would be $800 for a CPD campus for all of the faculty and staff to be eligible to earn the digital badges, the professional development incentives, and a portion of that funding, $300 worth, is returned to whoever is designated as the campus fellows. Kelly, that could possibly be you, or it could be some of the energetic faculty on campus who are just there to kind of help spread the word around campus. Maybe share the emails or the libraries of advertising materials, the posters, and encourage others to participate. And then also be as kind of a supportive voice in the community.
Mm-hmm.
So we have just one more activity. And again, I'm just going to have you maybe explore the site a little bit and then share back. And the question I'd like you to think about your institution, the goals, the needs of the faculty and staff on your campus, and what ways might you envision TOEP to address the student learning needs on your campus. And I'll give you just a second to think about that. Christine, nice to see another fellow in here. That's great. I can see the chat because I exited out of the presentation.
And actually, I think the reason why that is because it's really my meeting.
Okay. Oh, got it.
In advance, so you really can't control it as much as I can.
Yeah. Earlier today, the TOEP community experienced a new tool called Shindig, and it is very similar to Zoom, but it also brings in a little bit more of the ability to meet and collaborate and take a voice. So, Christine, do you have a mic with you? And are you able to kind of chime in?
I do have a mic.
Great.
Yeah, we've been a TOEP campus now for a few years. I actually participated, I think, the first time that you ran it, and actually got the top prize. So.
Oh, great.
I'm a groupie, and I really do like the whole way it's set up and the way it works, and we're working really hard to try to get our faculty to do it. That's the biggest hurdle for us.
Yeah, time is always so limited.
Right.
And, the great thing about TOEP is that you can, faculty and staff are able to work at it at their own pace, at their own time. Just any little device, if you have a minute and you're on a bus or a airport, you can, urge to learn, you pull up the TOEP site.
Right, and we have our schedule set just like we did last year, where we're doing our own webinars based on the different TOEP topics here at Empire, and we're just to help faculty take that little bit of time, learn the new tool, and get their activity done right there with us. So we'll see. We're fingers crossed we get more participation this year.
Empire has been a great partner, and the fellows last year, they did a really nice job on the webinars, and I would love to, it's been on the to-do list that those webinars need to be linked to the TOEP site so others can benefit from them. So I would really appreciate it if you can follow up with me and maybe share links to the webinars. If they're on the same channel as the ones from last year, I'm sure I can be able to find them.
Yeah. Let me talk to Nathan, and we'll figure all of that out. I know he was saying something about opening up our webinars to others.
That would be nice.
So I don't know if he's working on that or not, but I can touch base with him.
That would be great. And Loretta, are you still there?
Yes, I'm here.
Great. So you had commented, or was it your comment, Pretty Painless PD for faculty?
Yes, it was.
Can you explain how that's used?
PD, well, it's not used. That's what I got out of this. So I have seen this site, I think, before, but never really had time to explore.
Mm-hmm.
And now that I had time to stand here and listen and look more deeply, I think it'd be a great way for faculty to be able to go in and pick and choose what they want. They could even be in the same room.
Mm-hmm.
And just choose what they're interested in and then bring them together after an hour or something to talk about.
Yeah, that's great. And I think because it's happening at all the different campuses are coming up with creative ways on how they can implement it at their institution. Empire has got the webinar system. At UB, one of our fellows in the nursing department decided just over winter break, she said, okay, everybody bring your laptop together for lunch on this week during winter break, and we're just going to sit there and, find something, explore it, and then share back how we think it might be used. So yeah, there's a lot of different ways to think about the project, and it certainly is available to anybody in the world that wants to explore it. So thank you both very much. I do want to keep mind of the time.
1:40.
I would like to, I guess, we can encourage, the session to stop. But if you would like to ask a question, I would be happy to stick around. Cherie can stick around for a minute. So if anybody has any additional questions, I'm sorry we didn't leave more time for questions and discussion.
Well, we can take several minutes here if we'd like. The next session doesn't start until the next hour.
Okay, great.
But if there aren't any questions,
I would really love to hear what questions or comments anybody has.
well, I can definitely say from my end, regardless of whoever becomes the manager here, I would expect more interest to be expressed about TOEP from Delhi. So
Great.
say that.
Great. We also, just this past week, we pulled in another new campus. So it's not necessary to wait till next year. So if there is any way to encourage the powers that be, I think Michelle was talking with the provost. It's not too late to get on board for this year. The deadline to register for this year's round of incentives is February 14th, Valentine's Day. It's right around the corner. But you can also kind of, develop your own in-house 1 month long incentive process. So you can maybe just somehow, I can certainly share some of the advertising materials that are available on the TOEP site under the resources section or the about this project section, and you can find the press releases and the posters, share them out to your campus, encourage people to get together in person or just to reflect in a Moodle group about what they've learned by doing the discovery activities, and it's certainly open to any ways. We are hoping, just this morning we had some first formal conversations about considering it maybe as for the next phase, possibly turning it into a MOOC. It would be a constructivist MOOC, not a X-MOOC like the Coursera MOOCs are more passive. We would make it a much more constructive, active MOOC, but then open it up to learners of all sorts, and hopefully decrease the funding model, because it is, I think, sometimes it's just hard getting any kind of funding from a campus.
That's the truth right there.
So, time and funding, if we can get rid of both of those.
Everybody would be doing everything.
Yeah. So thank you very much. I appreciate all the time and attention.
Thank you so much for coming up or showing up for this presentation. Thank you, Robin. Thank you, Cherie.
Thank you, all participants.
All right. Have a great afternoon, everyone. And if you're around at Delhi, be careful with the drive.
Yeah. Or Niagara Falls.
Or anywhere in upstate New York.
Yeah.
Have a good one.
Bye-bye. Thanks.